Hello and welcome to my return after a 3-month hiatus to actual live online racing here on iRacing in public lobbies. So we're going to do some unscripted commentary today based off of some highlights from a couple of iLMS races I did. My first time racing with, not in a league, just with whoever's on the service in about 3 months, definitely since Le Mans, which was back in mid-June. So I did two iLMS races today at Sebring and the Porsche 911, and let's jump on board with some highlights. So here we see I was starting from the back and trying to overtake this Corvette for second to last place, and tried to go up the inside, completely botched it, sent them flying off. I thought I had more space, I thought they would take the outside, but they did not. And coming into this collision, you can see, two or three cars go off at once, and I just don't brake enough. I hit the back of that car and take some damage. And now we're going to see, this is a mistake I made a few times. And here I just completely fail to rejoin. This drops me to the back of the field at this point. I drive into the barriers for no reason. The mistake itself, clipping the grass on the entry there, I make that a few times today. But this was definitely my worst attempt at rejoining. Losing a good 30, 40 seconds just trying to find a good place to get back on track. And these LMP2s going past me, they're already a lap up at this point, so that's how far off I've fallen. Yeah, so this is later on. I just completely outbrake myself for turn, I think that's turn 9. Yeah, and just clatter into the barriers, take more damage. The good news is I'm at completely the back of the field at this point. There's no one behind me for many seconds, so I can just rejoin and get back on my way. So you can see here this LMP2 trying to overtake me. That's me in front, and I just kind of get scared off the circuit, leave them way too much room, take the grass completely out of control, and then I just get so thrown off I completely miss the corner, have to cut it there and then take a slowdown as a result. So that's obviously not the way to do it. And here you can see this LMP2 trying to overtake me on the inside. I thought I hit them, but they just kind of lost it, and then they decided to serve their pit stop while they did that. So this is a car who's now a lap up at this point, trying to overtake me, doing the overtake that I failed to do at the beginning of the race. And they get it done. And obviously they're a lap up. I just give them the position into turn 2. So it's nice to have a little bit of racing, even if it was with cars that were a lap down. Here we see this P2 trying to overtake me. And they do the same thing I did. They just run completely wide, almost into the second patch of grass there, which would have been a big F for them. But, they managed to get the move done because you can do that when you're much faster. And here I'm going to guess, I made the mistake for a second time. The second spin was unnecessary, but, much better job of holding it than I did. Oh, that's right. Then I went off a second time. Again, I get thrown a little bit offline, and I just got so flustered and carried speed in there for no reason. So that's definitely something to work on. When I do make a mistake, not letting that lead to further mistakes. And this is, I think, me crossing the line at the end of the race in 15th place, having completely failed to qualify and having had a couple of scrapes along the way, having fallen off the track more than anything else. So just to finish the race was a good accomplishment. I felt pretty good about that, but obviously lost a chunk of I rating, and my safety rating was basically perfect after Le Mans, so took a safety rating hit there. Obviously I was always going to take a safety rating hit, but a big I rating hit from failing to qualify and then finishing basically dead last after so many mistakes. So at that point I was planning on doing a race later in the day, and definitely was hoping to take a breather, come back stronger, and see what I could come up with. And it started a lot better, certainly. I actually managed to qualify. The strength of field in the second race was about equal to my I rating, so, everything to play for as far as gain and loss, depending on where I finish. But I managed to qualify 5th out of, I think, maybe 15 or so GT cars, so pretty happy with that. The lap was not great, but, still managed to start in an okay place. So let's jump on board with some of those highlights now. And you can see right here at the start, I was pretty happy starting 5th. One of the cars fell off the road almost immediately, but I managed to make one overtake under braking almost into the back of that Ferrari there. And then this next overtake that I made, I I thought it was much more of a dive bomb than it really. I mean, so it is a dive bomb, right? Like the other car has to get out of my way, but it felt way worse because of how early that car braked. Like that's a legitimate overtake, but at the time I didn't think it was. I thought I had completely forced them off, so I actually lifted and gave them the position back. More than happy to fight for it legitimately. But then I kind of gave all that momentum up. This is the last turn, and just over the bumps there, going so wide and not being able to get on the power. You see this Corvette wants to go around the outside of me now. But I was pretty happy here that I managed to hold the inside. I was pretty solid on my braking into turn one, kind of through both races, so that was pretty good. But then, yeah, this LMP2 just went for a pretty normal overtake on the Corvette behind me, but then just was not prepared for me to be there, and just, yeah. I mean, that's classic outbraking, you know. If I hadn't been there, I feel like they would have gone off the circuit. Oh yeah, and then this is me rejoining, and this Corvette goes way offline, you can see from their chase cam. They just go wide for no reason. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have been there, I could have looked at my relative, but I did look at my relative and just figured it doesn't matter because I'm offline. But yeah, I mean, you can see from there on board the Corvette goes wide for no reason. So here's me again into turn two, and I make the same mistake again. I managed to get more on the brakes and didn't make contact with anything. I did lose a position as a result. But, you know, at this point, having been taken out by that P2, I'm falling way back anyway. Yeah, I wasn't even attempting to make an overtake here, but I just kind of scared this guy off the track. This was the same Corvette that I had hit when rejoining, or that had hit me, depending on how you look at it, and they just kind of backed out of it there. Yeah, this was something that happened a lot. P2s would go for dive bombs into the last corner, and I tried to take advantage of that a few times throughout the race. This was a time when I managed to. So the P2 went for the dive bomb into the last turn, scared that other car off taking the line, and I managed to come through and take the position. So, you know, a bit of opportunism. Maybe not the most deserved overtake, but, you know, you take positions where you can find them. And I think this was a case where, yeah, I was so afraid of making the same mistake and clipping the grass on the entry that I just completely overshot the braking or failed to brake hard enough. And so this is a P2 trying to overtake me. They go for a last-minute dive bomb and then just don't make the corner, so we make contact. And here's from their perspective. So you can see they're behind me. They shouldn't go for this, but then at the last second, I'm already braking, and they pull out and go for it, and then they just don't make the corner. And, you know, here's my onboard. All I know is that there's a car right. I see them go for it, and I leave a car's width, but it's not enough. They just completely clatter into the side of me. This is one that I don't feel like was 50-50. There was nothing else I could have done there, because they didn't even signal that they were going for the overtake. So here was the car in front of me going off, and I figured this would be a good opportunity for me to try and take a position. They, you know, blocked coming back on in front of me, which is fair enough, but I figured, you know, I'm confident on this braking point here. I'll take them under braking. They fought it side by side through this turn, but I'm always going to get a better exit since I'm pointing clear at the apex of turn 5, so I do manage to do that. So this was several laps later, and I get this weird hop. I hit the curb, and it just kind of sends my car flying, and then somehow in that moment I thought I was going to be able to make it back onto the circuit, but I just ran wide and, you know, lost another couple of positions. So yeah, you can see here from the chase cam, I take the curb and the whole car just kind of hops, and you can see me getting off the brakes there. That was a bad move. I should have continued braking, kept it on the circuit, and I would have lost way less time. But at this point, you know, my rear wing's pretty bent. I've taken a few scrapes. Nothing I feel like I could have done about 2 of them, both involving LMP2s. Definitely for that one, I could have just not driven off the circuit, and that would have been nice. So here again, I see an LMP2 trying to go at the last turn. I think, let me take advantage. I've already done this once. But I run a little bit wide. Yeah, and that's the result. Hitting that Ford GT there. So here's on board from the GT's perspective. They get out of the corner because they see the LMP2 coming. They cut pretty far back in there. You know, when this happened, I felt like it was my fault. But then watching this on board with the Ford GT, they know I'm inside. I don't know that they necessarily needed to take all that space. So you can see me serving a drive-through. At this point, between all the off-tracks and incidents, I had 18 incident points. So I do have to serve a drive-through, but despite all that, finishing 8th, oh no, 7th in this race, I think. So having qualified 5th, 7th is perhaps not great, but having qualified 5th and then gotten into a few collisions, like I said, 2 of them I don't feel like I could have done anything about. It was just LMP2s being LMP2s in cars with which everyone is inexperienced. So did gain some iRating as a result of finishing in the top half of the field, so pretty happy with that. Lost plenty of safety rating, obviously, with enough incidents to take a drive-through penalty, but plenty to learn for the next race if I do choose to do more before the 6-hour endurance race this weekend. Obviously, all the off-tracks that I can avoid are going to help, as well as watching out for dangerous dive-bombing LMP2s and the havoc that they can cause. So thanks, everyone, for joining me on this unscripted highlights commentary video. Later on the weekend, I'll be streaming the 6-hour endurance race, so feel free to join me for that. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.